Shalom, friends. Today I want to talk a little bit about the book of Jonah. We'll be reading the book of Jonah on Yom Kippur, in the afternoon of Yom Kippur. And that book begins with movement. You see, it starts with Jonah receiving an instruction from God, "Arise, go to Nineveh," to leave his familiar and go someplace where he does not want to go. And Jonah's response is striking, actually. He does move in God's request, but he goes in the very opposite direction that God has instructed him. And this captures something very different about we as humans, about transitions. When life tells us it's time to go somewhere new, our first instinct may be to hold tightly to what was. Jonah boards a ship. A storm comes. He's thrown into the sea and he enters the belly of a great fish. He's then deposited back on land and he travels to Nineveh. He sits beneath a plant and the plant disappears. Everything in Jonah is changing. The sea changes, Jonah's circumstances change, Nineveh changes, God's decree changes, the plant that surrounded him grows and then changes. And yet the character who has the greatest difficulty changing, well, you're not surprised to hear that's Jonah himself. And this suggests something very powerful that we should remember on the holidays. You see, our great challenge is not surviving change. It's allowing change to change us. The great fish is especially powerful as an image of transition. Jonah is no longer where he was, but he hasn't arrived to where he was meant to go, and he ends up inside a fish, suspended between two worlds. And that's a little bit about what important transitions feel like for us. If we leave one chapter and we haven't begun the next, we are no longer who we were, but we don't yet know who we will become. The belly of the fish can therefore represent a kind of sacred in-between space. And what does Jonah do in that sacred space? He prays. Perhaps the spiritual task of transition isn't always to rush towards the answer. Sometimes it's to remain for a while in the uncertainty and ask, what is this moment demanding, asking of me? And this feels very appropriate as we come to the holidays. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur place us between the year that's ended and the year that's yet unfolded. We stand like Jonah in between the past and the future. There's another connection between the holidays, for Jonah eventually announces to Nineveh that in 40 days Nineveh shall be overturned. The word is in Hebrew nehefachat, or overturned. But the fascinating thing is that Nineveh is overturned, not in the way he imagines. You see, it's overturned because the people change. The threatened overturning becomes an inner overturning. Teshuvah means that sometimes the future changes because we change first. We often think of transition as something that happens to us. Aging, loss, children leaving home, a new relationship, a new job, a changing community, and a new year. But Jonah offers another possibility. Sometimes we become the transition. Rather than waiting for circumstances to become different, we ask what needs to become different within ourselves. The book ends without telling us whether Jonah changes. God asked Jonah, "Should I not care about Nineveh?" And that's it. There's no response from Jonah. And I think that the unfinished ending of the book of Jonah is perfect, because we have to answer Jonah's question. Will Jonah let go of the world as he thought it should be? Will he accept that people can change? Will he accept that God can change the unexpected outcome? And will he discover compassion where previously it seems that he felt judgment? We'll never find out. But perhaps the real question isn't, in Jonah change? The real question is, will we? That's the challenge for this High Holidays. And I hope that as we approach these days, we'll think of how we answer that challenge and how we will move forward in the year ahead. We'll conclude, as we always do, with the morning's kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit gadash shemei rabam. B'yalma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agalav yizman kariv v'imru amen. Yei shmei rabam v'varach li'olam li'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbawar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yidaleh v'yidalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu. Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemayim v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrama v'hu yaseh shalom. Oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Friends, I thank you for being with me this week, as I do every week. We'll see you again next week. Have a good week ahead. Bye-bye.